Well, it's kind of funny because there are many people crying, we don't want a dynasty. I just wonder how many of them are Kennedy dynasty supporters. The Americans have had maybe four families that politically are dynastic. They're like dynasties. The Roosevelt family, the Kennedy family, the Bush family, and perhaps the Clinton family. Well, at least Hillary looks like she's going to be the Democratic nominee. So Jeb Bush is set, given his current pace, he is set to raise, not just for his hopeful or his presidential bid, but the PACs that his homeboys control. Set to raise $100 million by the end of June. Now let the full weight of that sink in. In my lifetime, it used to be that you didn't have to raise $100 million to run for president. 10 million, 20 million. He will raise $100 million 15 months out from the general election, 8 months out from the first primary. $100 million. And by the way, these PACs exist basically for one reason: to bludgeon your adversary. That's it. These PACs are not going to say how wonderful Jeb is. They're going to say how bad Rand Paul is, and Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz. They exist to pummel your adversary. Now, there are people who will say that you shouldn't do that. As the playing field gets bigger and bigger, we should not beat up our fellow Republicans. Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment. God didn't know about that one, but Ronald Reagan said, "Thou shalt not speak ill of thy fellow Republican." And clearly the Republican Party has forgotten that. Especially, there's a real taste in the mouth of the Republican machine to speak ill of people who really want to defend babies from murder and who really want to have marriage be between one man and one woman. Let me do a quick turn. If you have not heard about it, there's going to be a very large prayer meeting, and Governor Bobby Jindal is going to be there. They expect about 10,000 people to be present, and allegedly no sales of t-shirts, no book sales, no DVD sales, simply prayer. And prayer for God's blessing, God's help on our country. I am hoping, I do not know whether it will come to pass or not, we'll find out. But I'm hoping that the people who stand at the microphone and who ask God's blessing for our country and ask God's forgiveness on our country, I'm hoping that they beg for the forgiveness of God for the blood that is crying out from the ground, the blood of innocent babies that is crying out from garbage dumps, from sewers, from landfills, from literally waste containers on the streets of New York. It's so despicable, it's so unthinkable, it's so horrific what we have done. And it's the number one sin that cries to God for vengeance, cries to God for judgment. So will this prayer meeting include people who are begging God's forgiveness because of child killing? We'll see. And in the second sin that cries to heaven for judgment is, you guessed it, homosexual relations. I'm just always careful what I say because I know that there are kids who watch the show with their moms and dads. It's a sin that cries to God for judgment. And our country is now glorifying it, saying it's a protected right, saying that it's the moral equivalent of marriage between a man and a woman. It's unthinkable where we have gone as a country. And so I'm glad that people are getting together to pray. Let's just see if their prayers are on point. Because Isaiah chapter 1 says, when you spread out your hands in prayer, I will not listen. Though you multiply prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are covered with blood. That's what God said in Isaiah chapter 1. So we'll see if someone has the spiritual and biblical sense to recognize why God's justice and judgments and punishment are coming on this country. Please, Jesus, have mercy on our souls. Please, God, have mercy. I'll be right back. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today.